Hey everybody, one of the guys, I think it was on Facebook, I forget, asked me what does Greeny look like with the paint in the sun. So there's a couple reasons why we're making this. Go ahead and get in close here. This is the paint in the sun. Now obviously there's some fade on the machine, so you can imagine how beautiful and brilliant the paint was originally, but it's still fairly close. And I haven't put Greeny's tanks on yet because I'm going to pull the tanks off the 40 cop bike, because there was some frame changes in 40, and we have this beautiful bode in the front frame here on Greeny, so I want to be able to compare the two when I get that off. Now you can see how close this is on the front crash bar here on this side, how close it is on the neck here, and on the other side we have a disparate distance on the left. So this bike had a crash bar on it at one, or a crash bar, a sidecar at one time. We have actual markings on the frame where you can tell it was on the bike. So maybe the front crash bar has bent a little bit. That would be my supposition, because sometimes they can get hit on the crash bars and you can't tell it till you unbolt it and then it goes doing. So that would be my first suspicion. So something isn't quite right. So as I've said a couple of times, Greeny, to be right, needs to come down to the bare frame, as opposed to, oh, it just runs for a little bit and goes, which I really don't want to do with this machine. So until I get the whole shop in order, we're going to put the tanks on just to enjoy the bike as a together machine at this point. I can get it where I'm ready to pull it down and treat it right. What happens when they sit for 40 plus years, it gets corrosion inside and you don't know what is rotted or what's not. I've had bikes that are nicer than this, like the Peacock Blue one I had, that we lost a couple of years on the training because sitting out of oil for too many decades. So, and the bike looked like it was brand new until you got in there and go, wow, boy, gee, why has it got rust on that bolt? You try to pull it off and the thing's frozen solid. And that's how Greeny is. Everything is loose as a goose or frozen solid. Like a real bitch to get anything loose. So that's just what happens to a bike. It just freezes from age. So it's rolling because I got another rear wheel on the machine, and right now, but we're just going to assemble the tanks and quite possibly the whole rig, just have it as a together bike, just to look at it for the future until we get ready to pull it apart, one thing at a time. So just an update here. I pulled some of the paint off. The air cleaner has obviously been repainted. It does have the original rivets, and you can see the tag in the right place. And my concept is probably the buyer, Wayne Pierce, probably put the 6-inch on there. They were cheap and easily obtainable at the time. Probably had a 7-inch on it. It's got the longer manifold, it's got the later timing cover, and that's correct for the late 40. So somebody probably told him, oh no, I was supposed to take the 6-inch, and they stuck that on. That's what he had, and he blasted and painted it. This air cleaner, I don't think came with this bike. But it's what it came with when it became famous, it's what it had. So we're going to keep it with a 6-inch and go from there. I found a real nice chrome one, but I got to find a tag. So being it had a black one on originally, hopefully I'll find a nice original pink black one with a tag. So we'll see. Everything's on hold right now. I gotta get the shop in order. Everything will come in its own good time. But this bike had a lot of beautiful nickel on it at one time. Most of it was nickel. So it has history. Any original paint bike has history. You got to understand that. You're deciphering a code of the machine, of what was done when it was new, how it came when it new, and what was altered after the fact. So you have to actually know a little bit about this stuff when you start pulling this and that apart. And it's a learning experience for myself and everybody. So we're sharing it with the world. And one last thing I had to make a mention. When somebody bought a real expensive fender on eBay, it was all over Facebook on the Antique Motorcycle Club page, and I said, damn, that's expensive. And Jim Weir says, oh, this goes to the guy who spent how much on that knucklehead? I said, everybody should thank me for buying this bike. I dug up so much information, been lost and forgotten. It's pathetic because of this machine. So myself and everybody else should be grateful I got beat up on the classic American Iron side on this bike. I had to go find the real documentation to prove to everybody what this was, what all the other ones were, and all sort of stuff that nobody even knew. It's all been forgotten about. Couldn't happen that way. AMCA said couldn't happen that way. Let's remember that. So that's the update on Greeny for now, and I can't think of anything else important to add. But again, let's take a last beautiful look at this beautiful, beautiful Hollywood green paint in the sun. And we'll come out and do another video on this machine when I put the tanks back on. Pull it back out in the sun for everybody. Till next time.